Before the video starts, I just want to say that the context of this video revolves around a conversation me and a few friends had. This is not my definitive opinion, and I am open to new ideas. There has been recent discussions with the Overwatch developers that reveal Overwatch 2, originally a 5v5 game on launch, will trial a 6v6 format within the next couple of seasons. But will it work? To understand the question, we have to look back into the history of Overwatch and why it originally transitioned to a 5v5 format. On July 25th, a blog was released by Aaron Keller explaining why the transition happened and the benefits that came with it. Overwatch 1 was flawed in many ways. Some of the main problems with the game included visual clutter, queue times, and tank dominance. With 12 players in the game, it often felt crowded, especially when everyone would use ultimates and abilities at the same time. Oftentimes, it was the ultimates that determined who would win a teamfight, leaving players to be left in long stalemates. One of the biggest repercussions from this was that DPS players and support players often felt underutilized. DPS players felt they no longer made an impact, and support players were left to focus heavily on healing. With DPS players and support players being the majority of the player base, this left a huge scar on the audiences of the game. Also, because of the large number of DPS and support players, this often left queue times to be quite dramatic compared to today, averaging 4 minutes to find a game. Already, this was more than enough problems for the Overwatch 1 team, and something had to change. Leading to the release of Overwatch 2, the devs knew a change had to be made, and 5v5 was the answer. At the launch of Overwatch 2, the game was reset. Apart from the obvious 5v5 change and the free-to-play aspect, other changes came along too. With the reduction in the number of tanks, the game was made easier to follow. The queue times were halved on average, the games felt less chaotic, roles felt more impactful, and the game felt simpler to learn. The 5v5 format fixed a lot of problems that came with Overwatch 1. Each role knew their exact task, meaning a lot of new players jumped onto the game. With a fresh player base mix of old and new players, the game felt fixed. Of course, some people didn't like the new team change, but Overwatch became more relevant than ever in the eyes of the majority. As with any game, problems started to rise quickly. Aside from the usual new game glitches that come with any game, Overwatch had problems it had never faced before. Due to the 2-tank format now becoming a 1-tank format, it was quickly seen that it was difficult to balance characters. Each season and mid-season update proves this, with meta heroes arising with each update. Now that we have 1 tank, the changes to the health pool and damage meant that tanks were buffed drastically to keep up with the team performance. This often left tank players to stop enjoying the game and felt pressured as they had to do a previously 2-man job alone. The original concept of Overwatch 1 was created with 2 tanks in mind, and reducing the number down to 1, it was inevitable that tank players struggled to keep up with the demand of their role. Some heroes, such as Ball and Hog, were specifically designed to have a co-tank partner to be more effective. As an attempt to try and fix this, Blizzard reworked both tanks to fit the needs of the current game. Although it did kinda work, it didn't really help the overall problem. New compositions had to be created to fit a 5v5 world, and some tanks just struggled to fit into that concept. Other problems that Overwatch 2 face are the same as its predecessor, queue times. At launch, the game's queue times were dramatically reduced, and even today, the queue times are a lot shorter. But with the ever-growing problem of less tanks wanting to play, the queue times each season are slowly creeping back up to the original times. It's very obvious that 5v5 didn't really fix its original problems, and with a game like Overwatch, you can understand how difficult it is to balance a game like this. So is switching back to 6v6 really the solution? Blizzard have had 2 years to find a solution to the current problems, so why has it taken a year and a half to suggest one? The answer is simpler than you'd expect. Overwatch 2 was going to bring in a brand new PvE game mode that didn't work on the Overwatch 1 engine. So that means Overwatch 2 is running on an entirely different engine. Of course, the idea of PvE was scrapped a while ago, but Overwatch 2 remains on the same engine as it launched. From previous tests, a 6v6 format would not work on this new engine as it often created lag or latency, especially with older consoles. This can also be seen in 6v6 custom game modes, as lag and delay become huge issues. When Aaron Keller released the blog, he mentioned that it would take a couple seasons to kickstart any trials of 6v6, as the dev team wants enough time to optimize the current system to fit in 6v6. With 6v6 trials set to kick off in just a few seasons, what can we expect? First of all, significant changes to roles, abilities, and heroes are sure to happen. This means health, damage, and even passive abilities will need a complete rework to fit into a new game dynamic. Teamwork and communication will be more of a focus than it is today. With an extra character on the enemy team, it would be more difficult to get an easy pick, and it may require multiple teammates shooting one person to confirm a kill. Depending on the distribution of roles, queue times may become even shorter, especially if a 1-3-2 format is introduced, meaning 1 tank, 3 DPS and 2 healers. And yes, that format is entirely possible, as Blizzard want to reduce existing problems, and this would definitely help the queue times. 6v6 will first be introduced as hacked events, so Blizzard may want to try different formats and team sizes to find the one that works best with players. Other changes we might see are specific game modes becoming 6v6 and others staying 5v5. Smaller modes or maps might be better optimized as a 5v5 format, such as New Queen Street for example. However, Saravasa may be optimized for larger team sizes due to the size of the map. Another possibility is 6v6 becoming a separate thing, alongside 5v5. What I mean is, just like role queue or open queue, 6v6 may have its own game mode and would fit in alongside 5v5. Although it is nice to dream about the perfect Overwatch game, where no problems happen, problems are definitely going to happen. If the game does become a combination of both 5v5 and 6v6, glitches and bugs may happen. No matter how Blizzard decides to change the game, I think the issues will arise in 5v5 and 6v6 separately. Because of both formats being completely different, more employees and work will need to be introduced to upkeep both game modes separately. Each character and role will have different stats in each game mode, and keeping track of glitches will become difficult. As a result, I think that hotfixes are going to take longer to be put into place, leaving the game to be a buggy mess for a while. Another issue I have is the queue times. With 2 separate game modes, the player base will become divided. If a certain role has a majority in one mode, it may leave a huge gap in the other mode. 6v6 may have 2-minute wait times, but 5v5 could have 6-minute wait times. This will leave a lot of the players to become fed up with the game, and the active player base will slowly die off. I think if this issue is not resolved, then this could kill the game. These are not the only issues I think will happen, and other unexpected issues may occur. Therefore, I think having a parity of 5v5 and 6v6 in the same game is not going to work. It's got to be one or the other, and there's no room for both. However, there is a world where this isn't the case. Instead of the game dying off, it could be certain game modes, and the game just transitioning to 6v6 entirely. But this may result in even more problems, where the people that prefer 5v5 will stop playing the game, and it will just completely split the player base. Given Blizzard's recent history of false promises, I wouldn't be surprised if they found a way to miraculously mess this up all over again. In conclusion, I think it will be very difficult to integrate both Overwatch 1 and 2 into one coexistence. Many players will feel ignored, and the division of the players will be the main topic of Overwatch. I really hope Blizzard can make 6v6 work, as having the choice will be amazing for most people, but only time will tell. Personally, I'm pretty excited for 6v6 to return. I think it would be a great change after the 2 years of 5v5, and having the tank problem that we have today to be fixed will be refreshing. It won't feel the same as it used to in Overwatch 1, and that's okay. Experiencing something familiar yet so different is going to feel fresh. Granted, it won't be what everyone is expecting, but I think it will be fun either way. If you have any other thoughts or opinions, I'd love to hear them, so leave them in the comments and I'll reply to as many as I can. Thanks for watching, bye!